Today, in our foil test, we're talking about the Slingshot One-Lock Glide in 7.25. We've already tested the flow for you and compared it with the glide. And now we're going to do exactly the same thing, but the other way around. Here too, for every size, the mid-aspect ratio decreases slightly as the sizes get smaller. So each model is developed separately, and the glide is a bit more compact, which means, I'll give this away up front, it also has a bit less glide. Actually, as we've mentioned before, the names should really be switched around, but that's just the way it is. The model is called Glide 725 and is a high aspect foil at the lower end, and basically has a very slight gull wing shape. It's really minimal, and slightly rounder tips compared to the Flow Foil. The Glide is a bit rounder at the leading edge, so it doesn't have quite as steep an angle. Of course, we tested everything with the 82 cm carbon one-lock mast. The principle has already been explained to you countless times. So we're not going to show you again now how it works. Slingshot did that already many times. Of course, an important aspect here was also the comparison. How does the foil behave with the Flairtail or with the turbo tail? There are really noticeably different characteristics, but we'll get to that a bit later. As with all the one-lock foil systems from Slingshot that we've tested before, this model is also flawlessly manufactured, and it's noticeably light. Overall, it must be said that the Slingshot foil is truly one of those foils that lift off very easily and effortlessly. As long as there's enough pressure in the wing, the initial inactive takeoff phase is extremely relaxed. You get going incredibly early. On a slightly deeper course, when there's little wind, you also don't need a lot of energy. Sure, a steady forward pumping motion is the key here. And as mentioned, compared to the flow, it's simply a bit better for those who prefer a more inactive start, want to pump as little as possible, or have a board, a regular compact board, that doesn't pick up forward speed as quickly. Back to our testers and the conditions. In our test, we had testers weighing between 65 and 75 kilos and both crossover boards and compact boards. The latest designs from Slingshot. After a very early liftoff, you get an extremely stable flight position, especially regarding the axis. Especially if you choose the turbo tail, we immediately have a very stable flight attitude on all axes. The pitch axis provides enough front wing foot pressure so that you should have absolutely no problems, even if you're not a very experienced rider. Nevertheless, the pitch isn't so locked in that it feels unresponsive. If we switch to the Flairtail, we notice that the pitch becomes just a tiny bit more sensitive, but in return, maneuverability is noticeably increased. And it's exactly the same with the roll axis and also the yaw. This wing provides really great feedback overall, so you always know exactly how far you can push it. It comes out of a roll very easily and is very easy to set up again. It's pleasant and balanced without any twitchiness. It's simply an easy to fly foil with really nice performance. And here, of course, compared to the flow, a noticeable, significantly better maneuverability is present. Especially when we choose the Flairtail here, this is a foil with which you can really ride beautifully. You can surf the waves very close to the face in tight turns with good drive on the wing. It offers a bit less glide, but in return, if you stay closer to the wave, it picks up the wave's energy very nicely. If you use the turbo tail with the glide when jumping, you do get good stability for a safe takeoff, but you notice that it's overall a bit harder to generate pop because you can't push as hard into the roll, and that's simply much easier and better overall with the Flairtail. And you gain more height because you get a nicer pop as a result. And the pop from the front wing also feels more efficient. And even if you compare it to the Flow Foil, the Glide really offers clear, noticeable advantages. Where you can also say, compared to the other competitors with similar dimensions, the performance here is really good. We had already tested a Glide in 1125 before, and now we have to say that this size here is absolutely 100% reliable as a foil for enthusiasts who want to do freestyle, but also for surfing waves, especially if you prefer to ride a bit closer to the face. So if you don't want to focus entirely on glide capability, then the Flow front wing actually has an advantage in comparison. But even if you look at the Glide on its own and compare it to others in this range, the performance here is definitely still good. No question about it. When it comes to the tail you use here, it really depends a bit on your personal skills. If you're still at the beginning and overall are looking for more stability, for even more or maximum calmness, then the turbo tail is certainly the best choice in every respect, the 100% safe option. If you're looking to get a bit more performance, whether it's for jumping or for more playfulness and agility in the wave, because that's where it really becomes noticeably freer in the roll, the Flairtail in 175, but also the Flairtail in 145 for very light riders is an excellent choice. Do you need a high level of riding skill for the Glide? No, absolutely not, especially if you choose the turbo tail in combination. These are monocoque components, and the fuse is also just a bit longer overall. That gives the foil so much stability that even a beginner could ride it accordingly. Of course, the size 725 that we tested is more suited either for very skilled riders in strong wind or big conditions or large waves, or overall for somewhat lighter riders. In conclusion, you can say that in combination with the two different tails that Slingshot now offers for the Glide, which you can of course choose from, you can cover a huge range of preferences. And the entire foil comes in a very high quality. As mentioned, we haven't had any issues with one lock so far either, and accordingly, for us, this is an absolutely top all-round foil.